Hey everyone, this is Ivan from Pintado Tennis Training, and today I'll be giving you guys some tips on how to further improve your forehand. I previously made a video on how to hit the ATP forehand, but this time I have a mic and I may give a couple more ideas to see if you can get something out of this. Thank you. Okay guys, so group of choice. Right now I'm using a semi-western. I'm a little bit more past semi, but not by that much. I would recommend semi. Eastern is okay. In between Eastern and semi is also really good, a hybrid. That way you can get a easy roll on the ball. But yes, I would say semi is a lot of times is the happy medium, where it's just as simple as frying an egg. And I like to have 3 fingers on the bottom, one slightly on top. All right, guys, that's that for the grip. Okay, guys, when it comes to the arm motion, I would say a lot of times, if I were to take away the legs a little bit and maybe just use a little bit of hip and knees, understanding how to move your arm forward is important. I would say a lot of times coaches will say something like you want to make sure that the butt cap is leading, or that the butt cap goes first, or pat the dog. And my theory is I always like to say, oh man, this fly is bothering. I always like to say racket above your wrist and then the racket down, but always having the racket slightly above your wrist is always good. I think in most modern cases, the best forehands start with the racket above, and even when the backswing is done, the racket is still above the wrist. I think it creates for good lag. But going back to the arm motion, assuming that you have a nice take back, maybe your take back doesn't really need to be changed. I would say the part where this part where the butt of the racket does go forward, I would say make sure that your movement is more of it's more of a forward and away from you, and then pulling towards you. So it should look something like you're pulling away and now you're coming into your body. So it's like you're pulling out to contact, and then the arm continues to roll over afterwards. So it's like one and then two. And ideally it's just in one motion. So it's like one and two. The take back starts with the left hand, of course, and then we let it go. So there's a take back, and then there's a finish. Now, when you guys are working through the arm motion, in order for the lag to work, you cannot be too tight on your wrist. It needs to be about a three or two in tension, and sometimes your two may be better off as a one. What I mean is that you do have to be quite loose, but you cannot be so loose to the point where there's little holes on your racket when you're holding it. The hole that you have on your racket should be always the same, and by that I mean a hole. I mean whenever people hold it like kind of like this, and you see there's like a little spot in the hand versus a full grip, even though it's not tight. That's what I mean by no hole. You want to make sure that you do have a nice grip on the racket, but your wrist joint should be quite on a loose to neutral way. That way the racket can still lag. So again, once we have the right grip tension, because that plays a big role. If you don't have the right grip tension to begin with, this motion won't really work. And again, this is a technique that's more for intermediate to advanced players. It's not so much for beginners. I would say for intermediate to advanced, it's maybe more of the way to go. Okay guys, now we're gonna focus on something else. Okay guys, we're gonna go ahead and start adding the legs. Let's assume that we're doing a closed stance. And if you're doing a closed stance, normally you're gonna position your feet like this. So one, two, and then hit forward. And when you have a good knee bend, it's easier to use the legs and the core. But it should look like right leg, left leg, and then you're pushing from your back hip and your knee. And again, you're slightly going forward and up. You do not want to stay too low, and you don't want to go up too soon. It's more of a forward and up motion. And How you put your knees is important. I always like to tell people that it's a little bit like you're doing a small squat, right? It's like you do a small squat. Now your legs are on the right spot. The front leg is slightly 45. Sometimes it can be more open. You just don't want it too closed. That way the hips can kind of come through. And so once you have your base, now you come out. Now you can allow the push to initiate the forward swing, and the arm is just kind of there for the ride. Okay, guys, so I'll give you guys a couple of ideas on the open stance as well. I feel like the open stance is the shot that's used more on the forehand. Closed stance is used, but open stance is more popular, especially in a match. You probably do more open stance than closed stance. Not that you can't do it the other way, but it's just, I think, a little too much movement perhaps. So when doing the open stance, I like to load the right leg and the left leg goes down. So if I'm on my ready position and I see the ball coming, I'm loading the right leg and left leg drops. From here, now I'm ready to push off and rotate. So basically the knee and hip are gonna push, and that's what's gonna allow my arm to come around. So it should look like 1 and then 2. So it looks like 1 and then 2. Now again, because of the push, that's what initiates the forward swing. And after contact, we need to let the arm continue to roll over. So for that, we want to make sure that everything in your body is still. And what I mean by this is when you're swinging, if you're coming up too much and your leg straightens out, is no good. I've been guilty of this. You want to make sure that everything stays pretty leveled. Yes, you can rise up a little bit, but from your upper body and torso, everything needs to stay very leveled. If you come up too much, it will throw off the arm motion. So basically, everything needs to be like still. When you want to hit big shot, everything needs to be like still. Like that last shot, I hit it good, but I was trying to focus on keeping a pretty nice level. What do you call level swing, where my body didn't come up too much, and everything stayed very level, head still, and then the follow through. So I load on the right leg, and then I swing. Now the commonality on open stance and closed stance, I would say for me is if you had to break it down into like 3 or 2 steps, for me, I like to keep it simple. I just like to think you have preparation and then you have accelerate, and you want to make sure that the timing is there. So when you load, it should be prepare and swing. A common issue is people take, what do you call it? They hold the racket back for too long, and then by the time they hit, they're jammed. So in your mind, you just need to if you have an issue with catching the ball late, a way to fix it is to start swinging almost a half a second sooner, sometimes maybe a full second, depending on how late you're truly catching it, because the body is what brings your arm out. And if you do not if you go out too late, you cannot have a nice point of contact in front. So it always needs to be like take back and come out as you're moving, take back and come out, rather than holding it here for too long. So that in itself can actually help a lot of issues, because I used to have that issue a lot. Now I still do, but a little bit less. You know, I'm still working on my own game, but just trying to get the muscle memory of going like take back and then through without pausing too long. If you have to pause, maybe you can keep the legs moving if the ball is coming slow, and you can hold your take back, and then by the time it's ready to swing, then you go load and hit. But ideally, you want to make sure that there's a rhythm to it. When you watch the pros, everything looks like rhythmic. Nothing ever looks like super jerky. Everything looks like 1, 2. Even if they speed it up, everything always looks like balance and relax. And that's kind of what you're trying to go for in a way. So again, open stance, you load on the right leg. It's easier to come out the harder you load, but it's also easier to go up. So you got to be careful, because you want to do more of a rotation sometimes. It's not terrible to go up this way. Just make sure that everything stays very leveled. And yep, those are some of the tips that I have for you guys on the open stance forehand. Another analogy, it may help. You could almost relate this to almost skipping a stone. If you skip a stone, maybe you skip it like this way. But what I mean by this motion is that the swing is actually much more across your body than linear. Not that it's terrible to finish up and above your shoulder, but as you start getting better on your forehand swing, you will notice that it's a much more across your body type of swing than up and over. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Hopefully my audio quality is a little bit better now with the mic, and have a good one. Take care.